16 years of Liberal rule has come to an end in the province of British Columbia. The province's lieutenant governor has asked this man, John Horgan, to form the next government after Christy Clark's Liberals were defeated in a non-confidence vote in the legislature in Victoria. Horgan says he believes he can command confidence in the House.
I've just spoken with the lieutenant governor, and she has asked me if I have the confidence of the legislature to form a government, and I've told her that I do. And I look forward. I look forward to working harder than I've ever worked before to make sure that this great province continues to grow and that the prosperity that we all want to see for ourselves, we can make sure that we can share that prosperity with others.
But if you think the drama is over in BC, think again, because it's going to be very close between the Liberals, how many seats they have in the legislature, and this team-up of the NDP and the Greens. And so John Horgan will now become the Premier, but will it last? Let's bring in our political consultant, Michael Geoghegan, who is standing by trying to make sense of it all. He's in Victoria. Oh, Michael, what can you tell us here? What do you think?
Well, it's certainly interesting times, and you're right. It's one where John Horgan is his first challenge is going to be picking his cabinet. He has to look at people who have been in the NDP caucus for many years. He has to look at, up-and-coming talent, and he knows that if one MLA steps aside, resigns, or heaven forbids, crosses the floor, he's no longer Premier. So the first challenge is going to be keeping everyone, both within the NDP and the three Green MLAs, happy in terms of this new government.
Yeah, how tricky is that going to be for him, do you think? I mean, to make sure nobody goes rogue and to make sure that he's able to convince the majority of British Columbians that he deserves to be Premier?
Well, I think, obviously, whenever you have any kind of coalition type government or a minority type government, they tend not to last more than 18 months under the most ideal circumstances. And here is a government where a minority government that it commands the smallest majority possible, one seat. They have to appoint a speaker. It'll be interesting to see how that plays out in the legislature, particularly also when they go to committee of the whole, where you have a deputy speaker that's also appointed. And you could see a situation where stuff goes to committee and is defeated by the Liberal opposition in committee stage. So there's a lot of the mechanics here. It's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. But yeah, he's got a real challenge in terms of making sure, in terms of cabinet appointments and whatnot, that he's keeping everyone on side, on board. And the most important challenge is demonstrating to British Columbians that, look, you're going to get positive change, you're going to get fiscal responsibility, but we're also going to take care of those that have been left behind in terms of the prosperity of the province. And because sooner or later, we're going to be back to the polls, and they want to be in as strong a position as possible to get a majority support from the electorate.
You know that change is often the most powerful force in politics, and so it was in this case, where after 16 years, we see the BC Liberals no longer in power. But I'm curious about this. I mean, for longtime BC political watchers such as yourself, you know that NDP governments still have a bad taste for a lot of BC voters because of what happened with Glenn Clark back in the day. For this government here, the wild card is Andrew Weaver and the Greens and all the power he will hold. And that opens up all sorts of files about pipelines and liquid natural gas and the environment as well, doesn't it? So again, very tricky for John Horgan.
Yeah, absolutely. There's going to be some review in terms of the Site C project, the economics of it. It was somewhat tied to the LNG initiative, which in large part has failed to materialize. So Andrew Weaver is questioning the economic necessity of Site C Dam, as well as the environmental impact. Pipelines, Kinder Morgan, whatnot, Justin Trudeau has made it clear that pipeline is going ahead. John Horgan has made it clear that he has concerns. The NDP Premier of Alberta has made it clear that she wants that pipeline to go ahead. So again, very interesting dynamic in terms of the resource sector. But John Horgan knows that although in essence, they won a landslide majority in terms of the Lower Mainland and Vancouver Island, the Liberals won a landslide majority in terms of the interior and the north. And so he's got to somehow bring back supporters and voters, particularly from that region of the province, the interior and the north, if he has any chance of forming a stable majority government in a subsequent election.
One final thing for the comeback kid herself, Christy Clark. What happens now?
Well, certainly there's been some people that have attacked her. The Gordon Campbell's former chief of staff, Martin Brown, came out in a series of articles quite viciously attacking her. There's certainly rumors of different people that will step up to the plate if she resigns as leader. It'll be interesting to see. Christie certainly tried her best to hang on to power. She wanted to see the lieutenant governor call an election. That did not happen. She's hoping that the NDP will stumble and fall and she can come roaring back with a majority mandate. But it'll be interesting to see how the Liberals react. I suspect the longer that John Horgan is in power, the more likely it is that she's going to step aside and let someone else take over the leadership. But it remains to be seen. She is a fighter, she's a campaigner, and not one to be underestimated.
Great to have you on as always, Michael. Never a dull moment in your province, and no doubt that will continue. Talk to you later. All the best.
Thank you, sir.